All right. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about, we're back on ModSecurity Dashboard. There are additional features that have added. One is being every WAF needs some kind of way to manage the rules, right? You want to be able to add, modify, delete, and modify or disable the rules. So what I did is actually I added another front end that is actually for rule management. I don't have the image added here. I'll add it later on, but let's go ahead. First, let me demonstrate it and let's take a look at what it looks like right now. My Docker dashboard, as you can see, I only have my application running, my PinewoodStore. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me clone it. As always, brand new folder. CD. Let me minimize this. Take a look at the dashboards. All right, so I don't have anything on the dashboard, just the application. So I'm gonna go ahead and build it right now. You can using Docker Compose. As always, Docker Compose up dash build. All right, so it is up and running. Something different is actually on a previous deployment. It used to be deployed to separate container, but I found it would be very advantages if actually you deploy both applications. By both applications, what I mean is the ModSecurity, which is part of Apache install, and also the dashboard, which is actually a Python script for the most part. If you actually install both, previously I installed it on the separate containers. Uh, they all fall under ModSecurity, the dashboard, but it was separate containers. But now they both are actually combined into one container, and there's a lot of advantages to it. So first off, let's go ahead and start. Let me try to access our application through the WAF, which is going to be this one, 8880. Obviously, as you can see here, my application is running 8088, and my WAF is actually running 8880. So when I'm actually clicking this, you might see the same site, but it's a different port. One is in front of a firewall and the other one is not. You are directly accessing it. So let's go ahead and try to access it first. As you can see, the application can be accessed. And now let's access the WAF. It does have a sample data, and this is request by day. It does give you it's very detailed charts. And the one thing I like about it is these are actually recent security events. The last events. It could be some of them might just be normal traffic. Some of them, the recent events, it might not be an attack, but it just shows you the most recent events. And also, I believe I might not have mentioned it in my previous discussion, but I added another column which is called rule triggered, because basically a WAF is any WAF, any vendor WAF is actually based on some kind of rule that's written in a certain language, and when that rule is actually it gets triggered through different events. It could be maybe you add an XSS header to an HTTP request, like it could be a script tag on HTTP request or something like that. You write the rule and it will trigger it, and based on how you write the rule, if you want it to block, just like in here, as you can see here, is actually blocked the slash comments. there was an attempt to actually exploit, let me see another one. The best would be XSS. Yeah. Comments add, this is actually part of my page that has an XSS vulnerability. There was an attempt or a payload through the post body to actually exploit this vulnerability, and the WAF blocked it, and these are all the triggers. So when you have an XSS vulnerability, usually it's triggered by multiple rules, not just by one rule. That's how you catch it. One rule might be because the attack detection through lib injection, or the other rule might be due to is written when it sees any kind of XSS filter, would actually trigger it. We'll go ahead and take a look at it in a minute. But this is what it looks like. And the main thing, like I said, what's different about this version is actually an extra added feature called manage rules. So it populates all the rules through a front end, and there's actually pagination, and because there's multiple rules, and you can just scroll through it. And also, if you I just want to remind you, ModSecurity in this raw form is just it is good, but it doesn't have any graphical UI, right? This is what I created. Let's say if you want to set up some kind of fast WAF, like set up an environment WAF. So let's say you're testing certain application, web application vulnerability in your lab, then this would be a best ModSecurity. This deployment would be the best for you, because as you can see, it didn't take me long to actually deploy it to Docker. And also once you're done, you can just remove it. And the extra feature that I'm talking about, this is the extra feature. And let's talk about some of the things they can do. So let me access this application. Now this application has this live chat feature where you can actually, this has a vulnerability, XSS vulnerability. So right now, since I'm using the support, is actually the request is going through the WAF, and any kind of attempts that I try to do, like upload any kind of XSS payloads, would be blocked. And we're gonna go ahead and see it in a minute. So I'll do a simple one, a script, and because the WAF will see the script tag, and obviously we trigger. Most WAFs are actually triggered by a script tag. So for XSS anyway, as long as they have the rule enabled. So I'm gonna go ahead and say test and add, so we can distinguish between the different tests we're gonna do. I'm gonna put the time 11:53 a.m. So when I do this, and you see it, it'll come up on the dashboard. So first off, it got blocked, and if I go back, and I don't know if you noticed, there was 560 the attack attempts, and also this recent security events, it comes up. And as you can see, also this is what my payload looks like, what I typed earlier on. Basically, I use a script. This is just URL encoded, because application encodes the URL. But the WAF blocked it as 403 because it did see this. So what is the added feature? What's so different about what we since the last time I discussed about ModSecurity? What's so different right now is actually you set up a way to manage the rules. Let's say I want to get rid of this rule. Now I don't want XSS anymore. So let's say I can go up here, and let me go ahead, and you can search it. And as you can see, it's on the bottom, XSS attack detection through lib injection. I can go ahead and select this and disable and apply the change. And I'll see this, click OK. And also, you can also see it here. If you go open this up, and because I did a lot of console logging, that way while I was troubleshooting, because there was a lot of code issues. And as you can see, disabling the rule, and it didn't need to start the Apache service gracefully without rebooting everything, but it looks like it disabled the rule. I know. And the other thing is, let's go back to the application, and let me copy this. This is a rule that I actually disabled. So let's do manage rules again. If I were to paste it, and this comes up on the bottom, and as you can see, it's disabled. Now, if I were to go to here, now currently, since I actually disabled this, if I were to send any kind of payload, XSS payload, the other three XSS, the other two would actually still be triggered because I haven't disabled those, but 941.100 should be disabled. And let's go ahead and test it. Again, just script tag, simple. This would trigger it. And let's say test 11:56 a.m. Send it again. Triggered it. So if I were to go 561, if I refresh it, it should go 62. And as you can see, for 11:56 a.m. Now, as you can see, on the previous one, I have this rule that was actually triggered. Now, since I disabled it, there's no more. It doesn't. The only ones that actually block this attempt are the two others that are actually remaining. 941.110. And let's go ahead and disable those, and let's try to see if the XSS payload would pass through. If it passes through, I'll get something. Instead of 403, I'll get something. It could be 401 or something, depending on how it is. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. So it is 110 and 160. 110. I'm going to go ahead and disable it. And 160. Go ahead and disable it. So now let's go back to ModSecurity. Let's pay attention. 562. Let me try to see if I can exploit it now. I'm going to use a different payload this time. Well, I'll use the same payload. Let's do, now I'll use the alert and try to see if it actually would let me execute simple XSS payload. As you can see, it did tell me I don't have permission to access the site, but it's no more, it's actually no more an issue with, it's not 403. It means the firewall, it's a permission issue, but it's not, it has nothing to do with attempt to exploit that. And I can also go back and then try to exploit the other vulnerabilities as well. We'll try to see that in a minute. So if I go back now, 562, obviously this is gonna be it's gonna go to the traffic, but it would go under normal traffic now. And as you can see, 953, because it is not 403, it's a 401, because I disabled all the firewall rules around XSS. And also, I believe I do have a lot of vulnerabilities related to this, right? I think, let's go to comments. So if I were to do this, I believe, let's do script. Document, let's do document that cookie. I'm gonna try to do it on all of them. Okay, sorry, this one actually only accepts. So random at Gmail. So there is still a rule that is actually blocking it. You don't have permission to access this resource. It is not related to XSS, but there is another rule that gets triggered. So let's go ahead and take a look. And again, if I were to refresh it, so there is a rule that got triggered, but let's go ahead and take a look. It's 403, and it is actually a different anomaly. It's called validated blacklist keywords. So because there is another rule that actually checks for blacklisted or keywords. It's probably going to be either a script tag or the document.cookie, but it looks like that part of it is actually uh, triggered another rule and it blocked it. But in any case, there's multiple ways we can honestly I can bypass it, but the most important part I was going to try to demonstrate. The other thing I can do is actually I can also disable these rules, right, and try to see if I can exploit it. But that would just be it might just trigger another rule. So the point here is actually you could use this firewall to block, like to make your testing more realistic, right? You can actually deploy this in front of your application and try to see you can bypass the different firewalls. And the other thing I want to show you is you can also write your own custom rules. I know that like there's a lot of the first question obviously going to be how much of this is you can modify it to write your own custom rules. And it does also export to PDF, and these work still, and you can also reset it. But we looked at that in another video, so I'm not going to go through it. Now, let's look at a custom rules. So if I go up here, this is where, if you go to Apache ModSec custom rules, this is where you would actually drop off your custom rules. Let's take a look at the first one. This is a custom rule, and if you send a request and if it does have a user agent and user agent is even bot hack, it would actually trigger a block, and it's going to trigger 406, and it's going to show you that it's actually block evil bots hack. So you can write something like that, and I'm going to show you in a practical vulnerability that just came out this year, the Nextjs vulnerability that is being exploited using an HTTP header. I've gone through that vulnerability in detail, how to exploit it on another video. I'm not going to go through it, but we're going to go over it just to see what the vulnerability is and how we can actually use ModSecurity when we testing and how it blocks it. So this is your custom header, just to check to see if it works or not. Like I said, the rule is also uploaded, and so this is it doesn't come with ModSecurity. That's the one I wrote. Let me give you, you can also look at it in here as well. I can just paste it, and as you can see, it is actually in the block state, and if I try to attempt any button that attempt that header, it would actually block me. I'm gonna give 406, and also it would fall under rule violations. And let's take a look at that though. As you want to see if it works or not, right? That's the most important thing. So basically what we need to do is this. So I'm gonna use curl. Obviously header, and this one is gonna be user agent. User agent evil bot hack. The header is going to be the user agent. And obviously, let me try to hit the firewall. I'll use an IP address. Obviously, on a production environment, you can have your own domain. So this is going to be a domain, but this is a live environment. So let's go ahead and as you can see, it's 406. It's the same thing as you can see, 406 deny, and it does say not acceptable. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our firewall, and it's probably going to trigger a rule violation if I refresh it now. Rule violation. It would also come under recent security events, and you can see it here. Custom rule block evil bot hack. So you can create your own rule as well, just to. So let's go ahead and try to see if we can create our own rule. Right. I'm gonna go to my site, and I'm gonna try to see actually the Nextjs vulnerability, because it's based off a header. Right. The vulnerability is exploited by adding this header to a request. This is a sub request that the framework uses when it's actually redirecting. What hackers did is actually they added this request on any external request, and they were able to bypass any firewalls, or you can say restrictions set up. The framework allows you, using middleware, the framework allows you to set up authorization checks, and also call you can think of it its own, like the framework has its own web application firewall. So it can allow, let's say if you have an admin terminal, admin portal, and you want certain users, only admins, to access that. So using the middleware, you can set up a rule where it checks to see if you have the admin, let's say, the admin access. If you do have admin access, it will go ahead and allow you to log in. If you don't, and it would actually kind of like send you back to whatever 403 page the application is set up on. So the application has that feature, and also the application uses this header and its internal marker, or this is meant for the framework only, not for external header to be used by external requests from users. But what hackers did, they noticed that, and they try to see if they can try to access restricted routes by just adding this header to the request, to the URL request, just like we did with a header on the user agent. So they were able to bypass it, and I have entire video on this as well and how it exploited. And actually I have a test application as well on my YouTube channel. You can also, it's in Docker, you can deploy it and test it, and also look at the different firewall in the back end when it's actually running. So with that being said, I think that's a different video, but let's go ahead and set up, this is a 2025. Let's set up this vulnerability WAF for this vulnerability, right? So the first thing is, the reason why I chose this is actually a lot similar to the custom rule that I have. It would be a lot easier to set up. So first thing, I want to show you something, is actually the way it does a custom rule. I'll probably change it at some point. If you go to the dashboard, there is actually, this is a if you go to the folder called Apache ModSec, there is a Docker file called Docker file combined. This is a Docker file that the Docker build uses. So if you open this, and let me open in Visio, and you would see is actually it would copy from the local folder, which I showed you a minute ago. If I will actually go back, and is actually under ModSec dashboard, there's Apache ModSec. Inside there's the custom rules. So basically, if you create a custom rules, this is where you drop it. The only requirement is actually you need to rebuild your Docker container. But I can have it in a way, it's easy, very easy, just adding it to the Docker compose up command. That way it gets added. Let's say if somebody decides they don't want to get rid of the container, right? They just want to put it down and put it up when they need it, because it's just like they might have customization they don't want to lose. In that case, what you can do is actually I'll make the modification in the future, but I'll make it in a way when you actually when you down your Docker container and up, it would actually still load the custom rules. But right now, it would actually load the custom rules only when you're building the container the first time. So what we're going to do is actually, first, let's go ahead and build it. After that, I'm going to go ahead and delete this container and build it again. And that way it would demonstrate a lot of stuff, right? So first off, let me go ahead and just copy it, paste it again. Let me call this one 3. All right, so the second modification you need to do, like I talked about earlier on, you Docker compiled and you just open it. And as you can see here, currently by default, it is set up only to copy this to this folder. Like this is where the ModSecurity rules reside. Inside by default, US share ModSecurity CRS rules inside the container. So I will need to copy my custom rule, my new custom rule. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this in its entirety and Control V. I think I'm on the right container, 67. Well, I'm building it again anyway, so it's not a bug. So you can do that and also just save it. Now, let's go ahead and edit our rule. All right, so custom rules. This is a new rule. So let's open it. As a matter of fact, I'll open it here. So the rule, the most important thing about custom rules or any rule is actually the ID needs to be unique. If you don't, the application is not going to start at all. You get an error, just you try to kick it off, just Apache won't start because it sees there's actually duplicate rule IDs. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this, this is a new one, so let's make this 2. And I'm gonna say that's the first thing you need to modify. The second thing, obviously, like I said, is checking request header. And the request header in this case would be, let's go back to my original applications. This is what we're checking. X middle request. This is a header. If it does have the request includes that header, we're gonna go ahead and trigger the rule. So let me also open up the other one. That way we can so you don't need this request. So if you have this header and the value is this, it's basically that's what it's saying. You have this header and the value is this, just go ahead and this would trigger this rule. So I'm gonna go ahead and save it. All right, so now we actually have to give this custom rule some name. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it extra name. Let's go back. I'm actually gonna give it let's give it this. So it would be detailed. So this custom rule, put this CVE 2010 Nextjs middleware authorization bypass vulnerability. So, all right, so the rule is done now, and it is added to the right folder. The next thing is just I just need to rebuild my my container. That way, it actually gets copied to the container, copied to my Docker container. So let's go back to my Docker container. I'm gonna go ahead and delete it, delete forever. Now, when you're deleting container, if you're using Docker, Docker desktop or any container, make sure you go to the volumes, because the rules, let's say if there's something you don't want to use anymore, most of the time there is, if you don't delete this, what's going to happen? It's still going to use this this volume as long as you're using the same deployment, and whatever you're trying to set up, whatever you're trying to reset by deleting it, because most of the time when you're deleting and recreating, you're trying to reset everything. You don't want anything in some configuration, or you want to add new configuration. So it's important that you delete the volume. I've seen a lot of people just delete the container and not delete the volume, and they deploy it again, it still has the same issue. But yeah, I just want to mention that you're going to need to go up here, volumes, and delete it in this case. Now, let's go back to containers. I don't have anything anymore. Now, this is what the rule looks like. Like I said, you just need to rename it. Most of the time, you can make it easier, especially if the rule is based off a header. Depending on what you're trying to block, sometimes some payloads, most modern payloads anyway, they might be on the body of the request itself. So that is when it gets a little bit complicated. But a simple headers like this, you can just create it this way: request headers, and actually this is the one, request headers, and the header is going to be x middleware sub request, and which is part of the sub request for Nextjs that is being used for this attack, and the value would be src middleware no WAF. And I explained this is about vulnerability. This vulnerability in detail, like I said, on my blog post, and also there's video, 2-3 videos on my channel. So I'm not gonna go through it, but this is what the WAF looks like, and I've already copied it over to my custom rules in my Docker install directory, where I have the Docker that I actually copied or cloned from my repo. So let's go back, and I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild this container. We're gonna go ahead and take a look. All right, so everything is up. Let's go back to this container. And first off, obviously, first I always like to check, is the application coming up? Sometimes, because if something happens, you're not going to be able to access the application through the WAF. So that's the first thing I'll check. And it is up. And the next thing, obviously, the dashboard, which is going to be on 8000. All right, so we have our dashboard open. And manage rules. Now let's search for our new rule, and if you look in here, we assigned a new ID here. And as you can see here, custom rule CVE Nextjs middleware authorization bypass vulnerability. So that's your new rule that you just added. So let me go back to the now the next thing is the testing. Is it really blocking? Now the most recent one is the custom one that we used. I don't have anything else anymore. I can refresh it, and as I can show you, there's nothing. But let me go ahead and try to see if I can send a request and if it actually does. So I'll use this, and I just need to change the header, and I have the header here on my site. So this is a bypass header that's being used. X middleware sub request, and the value is src middleware no WAF. So let's go ahead and save that. And as you can see, generated 406. So let's refresh it, and let's try to see if it actually, let's go back to the dashboard. Right now is 564, and this one is from a previous violation. Now when I refresh it, it should actually go up, because I have a new rule violation, which is the one that I just sent a request on, and it's not coming up yet. Like, this is from the old one, but let me go ahead and refresh it. already blocked it, so I just need to refresh it. And as you can see, the rule violations is 2. And we have our custom rule WAF rule that we created, which is for CVE 2025-29927, the Nextjs vulnerability. So basically what that means is the WAF is working in a block that attempt to exploit this vulnerability. It didn't even get to the application. Although I don't have any vulnerabilities related to it, I do have another site that actually has this vulnerability, which I used on my channel as an example. And also I have a Docker deployment that for that application as well if you want to test it. As a matter of fact, I might actually add that app. I'm thinking about adding that application to my huge application here, the PinewoodStore. So it would be part of the vulnerabilities that gets tested on. Currently, I have all these. So yeah, this is what it looks like, and this is a working dashboard, nice dashboard, and you'll be able to modify your rules, disable, enable them, and also like we talked about earlier on. And the other thing is, if I go to dashboard, I just want to show you a couple of things. So let me go ahead as an example. Let me go ahead and disable this, and it will show you. I'm going to disable all the XSS rules, and we'll try to see if we can re-enable them and they start blocking again. So let me disable this. First one is this one. The second one is usually the way they're set up is they're going to be around the same digit if they refer to the same vulnerability. So 941, 100, 110, and 160 are the ones that I need to modify. This is the one that's still in the blocking state. I'm going to go ahead and disable it. And let me go ahead and do the last one. Okay, so everything is disabled now. If you see here, the last attempt, what I did on XSS, yeah, here it is. The active ones are going to be 100, 110, 160 are the ones that are actually blocking it. So now, since I blocked everything, it should allow me some kind of access. There's gonna be another rule that gets triggered, but not these that I disabled. Obviously, if I want to bypass it, I have to completely bypass it. I have to disable the other rules as well. But these 3 rules that I disabled are not gonna be triggered now. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and turn them back on, and you'll see they get triggered. So I'm gonna use a typical payload and test. Let's go. Let's test after disable. So, and as you can see here, I didn't get anything, any issues. So, as a matter of fact, I don't know why it didn't. There was another rule that triggered, but this time it doesn't. So let's try. I think there is another rule that gets triggered. If I use alert, it might actually trigger something else. Let me use another payload. This one is RC on here. Prompt. Close image tag. So if I actually execute this and I don't get anything on WAF, it means I'm able to bypass all of them. I will want to use the script tag one, but each time when you add alert or something, there is another rule that actually keeps track of keywords that are prominent in a kind of attack or way to which is going to be the alert. JavaScript is obviously less WAF knows somebody's trying to see if they can exploit they're testing XSS vulnerability, so the other rule would trigger and it would not let me exploit it. But let's see, this is one way to test it. Let's see if it works. So let me say test and click OK. So yeah, another thing got triggered, but It is not those three that like I said, that I actually disabled. It's 564, so it's probably gonna go up now. 65, and as you can see here, just on error prompt. But there is another XSS filter, 94120 XSS filter. There's like a lot of rules that are set up for different kind of ways to exploit the vulnerability. This is for the one where you're trying to use the image tag. So I guess there is another rule. This is based off, right? Mod security is based off OWASP rules. So they're gonna have all kind of filters for different kind of ways to exploit XSS vulnerability. But the other ones are actually uh, disabled. I can also disable this one as well, but that's not totally not the point. Let's go ahead. As a matter of fact, what I want to demonstrate is, let me go ahead and try to see. As you can see here, it's disabled. Can we enable it? Let's block, like your typical WAF would do. Apply, successful. So now, if I were to exploit any vulnerability related to XSS, this should be triggered, right? So let's go back and I'm gonna try to see if I can do it. Just simple. Yeah, it's triggered. So let's go back. Yeah, 94.100 is back. 941.100 because I just enabled it. So yeah, uh, I've already released the new release on my GitHub repo. You can go ahead and get it, and I think it would be great if you set it up on your lab and actually try to test whether it's PinewoodStore or another vulnerable application you want to test. This is, I'll say, a great tool, open source. I just use ModSecurity and added use the Python to actually create the different visualizations and also managing the rules by parsing that log. But yeah, it does give you an option also to export CSV, your typical modern WAF. And I'm gonna keep developing it and try to add more rules and also features and try to see how far I can push it. But yeah, so far so good.